Hello, good morning. Can you all hear me? Okay. So let me start by greeting you all in Italian. Buongiorno tutti. We are pleased to welcome you to the fourth edition of Rome Museum Exhibition Beyond the Pandemic. This fourth edition came after analyzing the paradigm shift that COVID-19 has made in the cultural sector. And I know we spoke a lot with the speakers in several occasions about the current situation, that there is no doubt that the global economic crisis resulting from this pandemic situation, and we are already starting to see its first real manifestation, is putting a strain on all market sectors. For those who do not already have a solid market and were already oriented toward it, there has been a sudden huge investment in digital technology, as various director of museum has claimed. For other international museum and galleries, the response was instant in a form of effort to maintain their activities and visibility. Through visual tours, etc. And today we will shed light on the African continent and the Middle East and the changes that have irreversibly affected the functioning of cultural institutions and businesses. These changes has combined with adopting new strategies and the development of innovative projects, in particular in the African and Middle East region. The panel African Outlook, Innovative Development Experiences in Art and Culture is allowing us to welcome the speakers of today. I would like to deeply thank them all for joining from different places in the continent and sharing with us their innovative projects and activities in the field of art and culture there. Let me start by welcoming Dr. Ahmed Farouk Ghoneim. He is a professor of Economic and Political Science, researchers, fellow in the Economic Research Forum in the Arab countries, Iran, Turkey, and in Europe and Poland. He worked as a consultant to several international and national organizations, including the World Bank, WTO, UNCTAD, UNDP, the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. He holds a PhD in economics and has held different policy-oriented positions, such as advisor to foreign trade issue to the Minister of Foreign Trade, the advisor of the Minister of Industry and Foreign Trade Issues. He also helped in capacity building program in the number of countries. And since August 2014, Dr. Ghoneim has been appointed as the culture counselor for Egypt in Berlin and Vienna and headed a student mission there as well. Since August 2019, he has been appointed as the head of Economic Authority of Museum of Egyptian Civilization, this new museum that everybody is talking about. Now I give the word to Dr. Ahmed Farouk Ghoneim, to the new technology and the new norm. I'm sorry for this technical issue, but I believe that the team is working on that, and we will be shortly with Dr. Ahmed. Meanwhile, let me give you a brief about all names that involved today with us. We have Dr. Jess Castellote after Dr. Ahmed, and then Dr. Purity Kiura from Kenya. Dr. Othman Lazraq from Morocco, and finally Kola from Nigeria. And I hope the speakers can give you a good overview about what's happening in the continent now in terms of museum activities and cultural aspects there after the pandemic. Are we ready with Dr. Ahmed now, guys? Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you.
With the video from Mr. Ahmed, but we will really start in a couple of minutes. I give back the floor to Miss Sahar. Sorry for the inconvenience. I give you back.
Okay. So we are waiting for Dr. Ahmed. Thank you, guys. And maybe we can speak a little about what's happening in the continent in general. Bear with me because I already want to give you some hints of what we are going to talk about now. It's basically the talk about the museum fight for survival and audience transformation, the role of philanthropy, public-private partnership in cultural heritage in Africa, innovative projects and activities that held in that sector, whether it's in private museums or in public museum. The pandemic, it's for sure had a dramatic impact on the way people interact with content within the context of museum entertainment and learning at large. And while some audience have fully embraced online engagement, digital isn't necessarily fully inclusive, and many have come to value a person experience even more as a result of the pandemic, and this will raise lots of questions. I hope my guests will answer it later on, like how have museum audience changed during the pandemic, especially in the continent of Africa, and are these changes here to stay, or as part of the new norm, or there will be a hybrid form of activities? And how are museums reacting and making sure that they remain true to their mission and relevant to their audience? And during talking about my dear speakers in Kenya, Dr. Purity, we discovered that we not only we are making a huge digital transformation in the activity, but in the staff that have been working in the museum, because there is lots of transformation in how the staff handle now this technology in museum and cultural institutions in the continent. So it is actually a benefit for everybody in this aspect. Let me go back to my team and see if we couldn't have Dr. Ahmed right now. Maybe we can start with Dr. Jess, and then leave Dr. Ahmed to the second. Yes, please. Let me go back to my team and confirm that we will have Dr. Ahmed shortly, or should we start with Dr. Jess Castellote? Yes, please.
Me and hear me, and the slides, are they okay? Could you confirm? Okay. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we are doing, how we are a new museum. We started a few years ago, a couple of years ago, then COVID came, then we had to close, then we reopened. So here we find ourselves in a difficult situation. We are a university museum. We are small, and I wanted to tell you a little bit of what we are intending to do. What we are working on at present. First, and this is the most important thing for us, is to define the mission. And on that, COVID has been good, I would say, because it has forced us to rethink what we are. Why are we here? Why did we set up the museum? What do we want to achieve? And these are questions that is not only us, I guess is all museums have to ask themselves regularly. And now with these social changes, I think this going back to this important question of the why and what do we want to achieve is crucial for all of us and I think for everybody. What type of museum do we want to be? I think each one of us has a different answer for that. Obviously, a national museum of antiquities in Kenya or in Egypt or somewhere else has very different objectives and a different mission than the one we have. Some museums have a very powerful collection on which to work. Some other museums work in a different way. So this is a question that we pose for ourselves very much at the beginning. What type of museum do we want to be? Are we an object-centered museum, or are we centered on artists, or are we centered on art, or are we centered on tourists, or on preserving a heritage, or on being a prestige destination in the city, or what are we? And after working for quite some time on this, we came to the conclusion using a sentence that was already proposed quite a few years ago in a very well-known article on museums. We also went to change from being about something, in this case, the strong and important collection that we have, to being for somebody. Our mission is not, though we try to support and to document and to research and to display a collection. Our focus is not on the collection, but is on the people who will benefit or not from having access to that collection, and more especially from the programs and activities that we are trying to organize. We are just beginning around that collection. So for us, it is not about the dead objects that we have in our collection, even though we have some very important pieces in the history of Nigerian art, from traditional art, from Anok, terracotta, going back centuries, to contemporary works. We are an audience-centered museum. So for us, the focus is on the people who may or may not benefit from what we are doing. In addition, we have to take care of the collection, we have to document it, we have to digitize it, we have to research it, we have to display it, we have to conserve it, we have to restore it. But all this is at the service of a different mission. And the mission is having an impact on the people who come to us. We are also in a very special situation because we are a museum in the outskirts of a huge city, like Lagos. This means that we are not going to be a main tourist attraction because we are a little bit in the outskirts. But it doesn't mean that we cannot be relevant, that we cannot offer a good service to the immediate community, in our case, the university, because we are within a university, the immediate local community. We are expanding our understanding of what our audience are, because we ask, and we have been asking, and we are still asking us, and we are working on this, who is our primary audience? Whom are we serving? Then we will see how are we serving them. So, and this is something that COVID has had an impact on. We have expanded our understanding of who our audiences are. Now we realize and we think that we can and we should serve far broader audiences, people who cannot come physically, but who are interested and who could benefit from what we have to offer. People who will access us through digital means. So our audience goes beyond the university in which we are. It goes beyond the immediate community. It goes even beyond the Lagos community. It goes beyond the Nigerian community. We go to much broader audiences. This has been an important shift, perhaps not a change, but definitely a shift in focus. Then for us, the crucial word here is engagement. It's not visitors, it's not numbers, it's not art, it's not the collection, it's not artists, but it's engagement. And the measure of success of these museums that is starting now will be how much do we engage, not only how many visitors do we have, how much they like what they see, but how much we engage them in something that goes a little bit beyond the visual. So this is the crucial word for us, what is at the center of our strategic plan, of our mission, is to serve and to engage. We repeat, and this is really a reality that we want to, because we are starting. We are here not just to teach, understood in the narrow way of top-down transmission of knowledge. No, we are not here to do that. We are here to help people learn, to help people discover. Before we used to say that we are a teaching museum because we are in a university. Now we say, well, we are a teaching museum, but really we are a learning museum. We are a place where people learn. Our mission is not to teach. Our mission is that people learn. So this is something that defines what we want to be. I insist that our situation is very special. If we were a museum, have been here for 50 years, we will be talking of something else. I'm aware of the little time we have, so I will, yes, 2 or 3 more slides and we finish here. We are not a teaching museum, but we are a learning space, a space where people hopefully will discover, will experience, and will learn. And what is what we will learn? Initially, we were focusing, because we are an art museum, on what they can learn about art. Now we have expanded also that. Is what we can learn through art and with art. So we are talking of history, of culture, of tradition, or social issues that can be learned through art. So this is what, in a way, distinguishes the type of museum that we are, or that we want to be, because we are beginning. We have done very little till now. So while in most art museums, the key figure will be the curator and the key activity will be the exhibitions, for us, the key, the central, the most important person is not the curator, but the educator. And it's not the exhibitions, though we have exhibitions, but the programs that we do, because we want to have an impact. For that, we ask ourselves, is the traditional 19th century Western museum our best model? No. The answer is no. A museum as a repository of dead objects, like the cemetery, the place where objects go when they die. No, our museum wants to be something else. And it's not that we are proposing it obviously as the model for everybody, obviously no. But this is what defines what we are. Can we aim at integrating art and life as it has been done in Africa outside the traditional museum. For instance, all the issue of performance, of not only addressing what you can perceive with the eyes, but engaging the mind, engaging the other senses, music, surrounding the performance, the movement. So this is something that leads us to think that perhaps the word museum is not the best word to express what we are or what we want to be. So we are trying to start by rethinking what a museum could be, or not what a museum, or what definitely not what all museums, and not what the museum should be, but what we can be as a 21st museum in Africa here. So this is what is at the center of what we want to do. We are a small group of young fellows. We don't have yet much experience. We are beginning, but that's what we want to achieve, and that's what we want to be. Thank you very much. And I'm aware that I have thrown more questions than answers, but that's what we are now. We are questioning what we are, what we want to be. Thank you very much.
Much, Dr. And I really appreciate your presence today and sharing this wonderful experience. It's so much really important in the continent and in Nigeria, of course. Now I think we are ready for Dr. Ahmed Ghoneim, the head of the Economic Authority of the Museum of Egyptian Civilization. Are we? All right. Thank you.
Museum of Egyptian. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all fine. My name is Ahmed Ghoneim, the Managing Director of the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, NEMIC. And it's a pleasure to be here with you in such an important event and such workshop of talking on issues related to technology and the impact of COVID-19 on the museums and the way forward. Now let me start by giving you a brief introduction on the specific nature of NEMIC and why it is gaining a lot of importance after the royal parade that we all experienced on the 3rd of April with the grand opening by our president, and the whole world has been seeing it over the different channels on the 3rd of April. NEMIC is different in many ways. Number one, it is, as a museum, it is different because it's not as expected, confined to Pharaonic era, but it deals with the different eras. So that's the one issue that distinguishes such a museum. So you start by the prehistory, and then you go through the Pharaonic, and then you go through the Greek and Roman, and then you go through the Coptic and Islamic, and then contemporary era. Number two is the issue of the mummies, the royal mummies, and how they are displayed. The royal mummies were there before in the Tahrir Museum. What's new in bringing them in the museum is the way they are displayed, where we have the decoration, the lighting, as well as the different belongings of the kings and queens. We have 4 queens and 16 kings, all displayed. And there is a story to say for each king and each queen. Number 3, we're not only a museum, we believe that we're more than a museum. We consider ourselves as a scientific as well as cultural hub. Regarding the scientific element, we have restoration centers and labs that are extremely updated, and we have some of the equipments that you cannot find except in some of the very unique museums all over the world. Regarding the cultural hub issue, we believe that we should have a different kind of experience for visitors, and hence we have a lot of entertainment outlets. We have restaurants, we have cafeterias, we have a cinema, we have open theater as well as a closed in-house theater and a lecture room and a meeting room. This in itself makes our museum completely different and unique, not only in Egypt but in the whole region. What I will show you right now is just a small presentation on some of the issues that you can see in our museum, and the presentation I will run it fast and then jump directly to the issues that I was asked to speak about, which is the role of technology in museums and how we utilize it, as well as the issue of the impact of COVID-19. So regarding the museum, as I said, our mission is and our vision are related to becoming more than a museum, a cultural hub. And we have, at the moment, an open museum main hall, which you can see in the presentation. And this hall contains around 1,600 pieces from the different eras that are mentioned. The way they are displayed are different because we have a story behind every showroom that we have. We have behind the things that are in it. We have one that's related to the making of the bread. We have one that's related to the advancements of the ancient Egyptians in the field of music, for example. Another one related to the time and the history of time. We interrelate the different showrooms related to how they are and how they were in different eras. That's what you can see in the presentation that I'm showing you right now. We have as well a dye house that was used in the Fatimist era, and that's located at the heart of the museum and at the heart of the Roman theater, which you can see as well in this photo that I'm showing it to you. And then we go through the restoration labs, and we have a number of photos that can tell you how the talent, passion, and science are mixed together in such labs by my fellow colleagues in this fantastic place, which I can invite you all to visit this place. You will never, ever should not ever miss this kind of experience in our place. And then you can go, I'm taking you around the facilities. We have the theater, and then the Roman theater, the cinema, and then the landscape that we have. This presentation just gives you an overview of how the museum is, and as I said, it's more of a complex, it's more of a cultural hub and a scientific research center hub. Coming to the two issues that I was asked to talk about, the role of technology, we believe so much in making the experience of our visitor different from the traditional kind of visit that people have when they visit museums. And in that sense, we emphasize the role of technology. So we have two screens, one on the wall as well as one on the floor, where the visitor can experience some kind of an experience before going in the mummy's hall. And it says a lot about the tombs, and it says a lot about how they were buried and the coffins that were used during that era. This kind of screen is only, you can find only in this museum. I don't think you can find it in any other place all over the world. The other issue is that we're emphasizing the interactive screens where the visitor can have a question about any of the pieces that are displayed, and he can have more info about it, which is as well displayed on our website, which I invite you all to visit, which is nemic.gov.eg, I believe so. No, sorry, it's nemic.com, where you can find a lot of our stuff, of our objects on this website. Moving again to the technology aspect, we have a lot of screens, not interactive, but they are displaying short movies on the different eras and the different monuments that were related and are found in our museum, and you can find them hanged on the walls of the main hall. And then you move to some of the showing rooms have special screens where they have short movies telling the story behind making or the history of that piece or object, where the visitor can enjoy the seeing of how things were used in that eras and how they were made and the science behind it and the talent behind making such issues. And then we have a lot of QR codes that can tell the history of the queens and kings at the entrance of the mummy's hall. We're intending to intensify the use of technology, and we are having in mind that a new hall will be opened where it will be mainly based on the use of technology regarding the hologram, regarding the different kind of virtual tours and things like that. We already had a virtual tour due to the lockdown, and that's related to the other issue, which is COVID-19 impact on the museum, and that was asked for, and we organized such virtual tours, but we try as much as possible to confine it to specific visits where we control everything so that we do not allow the visits only by virtual tours, and in that case we will use our normal traditional visitors and tourism coming to Egypt. So we do it in a very, let's say, disciplined sense, and we confine it to formal requests by institutions. Finally, moving to the impact of COVID-19 and on the museum. When we opened, we actually opened during probably the second wave, which was in April 2021. But from day one, we insisted that the precautionary measures will be applied and will be adopted very strictly. And in that sense, if any of you have visited the museum, you'll find that all of the kind of precautionary measures regarding detergents, regarding the necessity of having a mask when you are in the hall, we're very strict about it. Adding to that, we have been trying to have our events, especially the cultural events, in the Roman theater, which is an open air, and hence we take care also of this issue. We limit the number of visitors in the hall if it's overcrowded, just to ensure. We have from every while and then asking the different authorities, the related authorities, to make sure that the place is disinfected in the right way. We are heavily utilizing technology as well in order to overcome the negative impact of COVID-19, but we cannot have everything revealed on the website or the social media, and hence we use some kind of short movies and photos just to make sure that the visitors or the potential visitors are in contact with our museum till we overcome this pandemic. And I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I hope that I was not too long. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks everybody for being here, and now I would like to introduce the second speaker from another country in the continent, which is Kenya, Dr. Purity Kiura, which is the immediate former director of Antiquities, Sites and Monuments, and now she's a chief research scientist in matters heritage at the National Museum of Kenya. She has a doctorate degree in anthropology from New Jersey, and as the director of Antiquities, Sites and Monuments, she was in charge of all museums, antiques, sites and monuments in Kenya, which involved heritage management and conservation through surveying and mapping the national list of protected areas and objects and buildings. In addition, she's also had other duties, including the information dissemination through development of exhibitions and public programs with the different 23 museums in Kenya. Thank you very much to Dr. Purity, and I'll leave the floor to you. Are we ready for Dr. Purity?
Thank you very much, and I hope you can hear me. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I think we are having some technical problem with the internet connection with Dr. Purity. I don't know if we can just give her some time and take the next speaker, Dr. Othman Lazraq. Dr. Othman, are you with us? Maybe I should go ahead and introduce Dr. Othman.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sahar, for the kind introduction. I'm very happy to be part of this panel because I'm doing almost the same thing, but in a very different way. Allow me to share my presentation, my screen. So my name is Othman Lazraq. I'm a collector by heart. I was born in Marrakesh, in a city that is very touristy, but it's also an important cultural city that was hosting many cultural figures throughout the decades, the past decades. So I'm from a family of collectors. My family has been collecting for as long as I can remember. And that's how in the 12 years back, we've created the Fondation Alliance, which is a fondation that is dedicated to democratize and to give access to the art and culture in the country by developing programs in the region. So I'm just going to introduce the program in a very quickly. One of the first programs that we've started was Passerelle, which is literally a bridge between social and culture commitment. And a photography contest that was launched a few years back. It is dedicated in promoting and exhibiting African contemporary photographer, and also creating and solidify a very big database of photographer in the continent, and a sculpture park. That was one of my first projects while running the foundation. The sculpture park is a 13 international artists that taught and create on-site sculptures, which is near Makal. And obviously Makal was born in the same vein as structuring and structuring a collection with a big challenge in mind to solve, which is to growth interest and local audience in Morocco and in Marrakesh. The Makal was born in 2016 with the same mission of giving accessibility and create a place where art and people are welcome. The first private museum in Morocco, 100% privately funded, of African art. This project is the project is obviously dedicated to promoting arts through exhibitions, programming, with commission arts and engaging with local audience. The big challenge that we had was to kind of break the image of a very elitist museum and be a more friendly and more open museum, while educational programs were important for us. 12 exhibitions were opening since. The last one that was right before COVID had to close 3 weeks after it's opened. It was called "Have You Seen the Horizon Lately?" It was a kind of a very premonitory title, to be honest. No more horizon and vision of our future. It was hard for us, but it was a good push to kind of create new tools and be more innovative to continue to bring the exhibition alive and to keep it alive, to engage with the public. So the exhibition, the programming was obviously shifted digitally. We've been closed for 7 months. So during that 7 months, we have to create our own tools, webinars, live performances, Instagram takeovers, virtual tours, and all this during a few months with a very small team. We had a small team that was split it all over the country with the obviously the obligation to review our offer for this public and strengthen our community online. So the pandemic was also a good introduction to how creative we could be and how we could adapt to a target and create a more local audience. Marrakesh is known to be international, is known to be a touristic place, as I was saying, but we needed to create a local audience, and we've been launching workshops and meditation, but mainly which was the focus of our concerns, our educational programs. The programs that we support and promote within the museum are obviously a residence that was still very alive, because during the pandemic we had a few artists that were able to join the residence, and also the boot camp that was physical for the first time, for the first part of 2020, but then shifted into digitally, and it was a huge success. And it's a 4 days intensive workshop dedicated to creatives in the continent. And we reopened 7 months afterwards with new exhibitions, 3 exhibitions. There were more focused on Morocco, always with that in mind, that we have to raise a different impact while refocusing on Morocco. So we we expanded in Casablanca, where the audience is basically, we were basically at the doors of our audiences, and we opened a space during the lockdown that was dedicated to exhibit art, but it's more like an experimental space where exhibition, but also programs such as workshops, educational programs will take place. We'll be launching a library of 800 books specialized on African contemporary art for researchers and young and students. And we continue during the year to create links and bridges between other institutions around the world, in Dubai and Al Circle, or in Paris during in the National Museum of Immigration. And today, I think developing, enhancing our expertise with a very young and dynamic team, and with a tight budget as well, is part of our cause and goals. We need to valorize our collection and continue to create synergies all over Africa, and this is our role, being in Morocco and such a very different context from all over from the rest of the world. We wanted to make it to be different and to kind of write a different story for people to read. So we have beautiful museums in Morocco, but we are an alternative proposal to it. So thank you very much. I hope it was interesting for you. I'm not sure. So as I was saying, I think being more involved in the art landscape and the regional landscape is very important. The ecosystem in Morocco is mainly very second. It's knowing that the Minister of Culture became more and more involved in supporting supporting private initiatives by organizing many manifestations all over Morocco and including private institutions in it. So we're very lucky to be part of a global vision for the arts and with the support of His Majesty the King in Morocco.
Many thanks, Dr. Othman Lazraq, really, for being here with us, sharing this interesting presentation of your activities in Morocco, such a wonderful country and very artistic on its own. And I'm so sorry I didn't have the chance to introduce you well from the beginning. Mr. Lazraq, or Dr. Lazraq, is Director of Fondation Alliance, and he's the president of the Museum of African Contemporary Art, Maaden, Makal, in Marrakesh. And as he explained, it's a non-profit contemporary art museum that is very, very much intensively active in the contemporary art and in the art scene in Morocco. Thank you so much, Othman. And now I think we are ready for Dr. Purity from Kenya. Are we? Should we go ahead?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope now you can hear me. First, I want to apologize for the mishap, but I'm currently in West Africa, in Benin, and I can really tell you some of the little things we take for granted we should appreciate, because the internet here is unstable and very erratic, and I hope that within the shortest time, I can be able to explain some of the technological innovations that we've been able to undertake within the National Museums of Kenya towards availing and being visible in terms of what we do as an institution. As an institution, we are both a cultural and a natural museum. We have about 23 museums across the country, but our biggest museum is in the capital city of Nairobi, where we have almost 1 million visitors every year, and 3/4 of those visitors are mainly school groups, because those are the people who come to the museums, particularly for educational and public programs. And even before the COVID-19 hit, we were already thinking in terms of how we can try and diversify, even within the other regional museums, to bring to the fore some of the things that they do. And we thought maybe going digital would have been the best way, so that maybe from wherever you are, at a click of a button, you can be able to enjoy some of those resources. I had a presentation, but I'm not going to try and present it because of the internet. But if it can be shared by those who are interested within the presentation itself, there are links that you can be able to click and see some of the very interesting things that we've been able to undertake. The National Museums of Kenya has around 11 million collections within its facilities, and it's only maybe even an eighth of that which is shown within the collections, within the exhibitions. So one of the things that we thought is very important is that we need to digitize most of these collections, so that probably we can be able to create programs digitally and avail some of those collections which have been in storages for a very long time to the public. And so far, we began by concentrating on the prehistory. This is the story of the human origins. You are aware that maybe I should say Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa are some of the African countries that have a wealth of prehistory resources. And here I'm talking about some of the fossils. I'm also talking some of the cultural resources, including what we call as the earliest stone tools or implements that were being used. So within that aspect, we were able to digitize about 10,000 resources within the collection. And this was done with Amazon, the company Amazon. They came on board and they trained our people, and also we worked with them. And now these collections can actually be availed to schools during educational programs for them to learn and also for them to engage in. We've also been able to work with companies to bring digital technology on board. And here I'm talking about virtual reality and also augmented reality, because we've discovered that majority of our population, even in Africa, is the youth. And the youth are technologically savvy and they have their own way of appreciating what we are trying to bring on board. So for example, when you start talking about human origins, they do not understand what human origins is. So we became creative and started developing programs or some of the resources that maybe through just animations of some of these fossils. And one of the major one that we did was just bringing Turkana boy. Turkana boy is a 1.8 million year old fossil. It's a young boy of about 15 years. And it was discovered in northern Kenya. In Ethiopia, we have what we call Lucy, who is about 3.6 million. And these are some of the most famous fossils in the world today. But the youth do not understand when we start talking about human origins and the fossils. So what we did with Turkana boy, because of the biological skeletal differences that it had, at 15 years, it was very tall and it used its legs to move across the landscape looking for resources. So we developed Turkana boy, animated Turkana boy, to run all the way from East Africa, carrying a torch of fire. And remember, also in Africa, we have the earliest evidence of humanly made fire. We also have evidence of maybe natural fires that occurred in the forest, but this one is the first evidence of humanly made fire, where humans thought of coming up with a technology of making fire. So Turkana boy made the fire, then he made the torch and ran all the way across to Japan during the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. That clip is also within the presentation. You can look at it and see how creative it was. And we were able to bring the youth on board, and they appreciated and were able now to understand why some of these fossils and their biological and skeletal differences are important when we talk about human evolution. We also have a lot of resources in terms of just modern contemporary cultural heritage, where we have music, dance, dress, food, and we want to bring this to the world. We've worked with what we call Google Arts and Culture, and we've been able to digitize about 10,500 high-resolution photographs of different cultural resources within our museum. We've also been able to do 90 expert-curated exhibits. That is just going through some of our galleries and doing a wide view of what we call the street view of the galleries itself. We've not yet narrowed down to the objects because we are also working in terms of copyrights and also how we are going to give information. We've also been able to digitize about 16 sites. These are sites within the outside, and we've also been able to do 3D imagery of some of our heritage sites like ruins. And this information now, at a click of a button from wherever you are in the world, you can be able to go on it and appreciate the technology and also the heritage that Kenya has. We've also been able to work with some of the youth groups because they are becoming very creative in terms of even narrations, poetry, drama, music, which is also related to some of the collections that we have. I had one of our colleagues talking about engagement with communities, engagement with the youth, and just bringing these collections to people and for them to appreciate and to teach them and for them to appreciate and tell us what they think about those collections. And that is what exactly we are doing, giving opportunities to the youth to do narrations, to do stories, to do drama, and this is all towards visibility and also towards moving away from on-site visitations. Because previously, people had to come to the museum to be able to appreciate all these collections, But now, even from your home at a click of a button, you can be able to understand what's going on within the museums through maybe some of the poems, through some of the narrations. So in essence, that's what we are doing. And even right now where I am in Benin, we are working with a group of the youth through ICROM, which is based in Rome. And what they are actually developing is what they are calling heritage hubs. And these heritage hubs will bring all these technological advancements and knowledge for the youth to be able to tell us what they want us to do with them and to appreciate some of the heritage that we have. So I'm very happy to share with you, although not visually, some of the things we've done. But if you just go to Google Arts and Culture and you look at Kenya, you'll be able to see some of the things that we've been done. I've also put in some of the youth groups that we've worked with, and if you click on those, their online presentations, you'll be able to see exactly what we've been able to do. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you all in the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Purity. I know how difficult it is when the connection is not good, and thank you for the link you have made between the poor internet in Kenya and what is the effort you have been doing, and I mean in Benin, and the effort you have been doing in Kenya, especially the collaboration with Amazon and Google. I would like to go back to to Dr. Jess Castellote, just to re-thank him and to introduce him in a better way, because with the technical issue, I did not have the chance to introduce him. I have to say that Jess Castellote is worked for years in Nigeria as an architect and a project manager, and he's currently the director of Yemi Shyllon Museum of Art, Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos. He is also the founding member of the Foundation of Contemporary and Modern Visual Arts and the Society for Art Collection. He authored many books in Nigeria about the Nigerian art, and he combined his professional work with an intense involvement in several non-profit organizations promoting development and educational projects in the country. Jess, if you want to add anything to your previous presentation, I would like to open the mic for everybody, just to have an open discussion and have an internal maybe question among us. And also, if any of the audience would like to have a question, would you please write it in the chat box, and the guests can answer you. We still have about 10 minutes toward the end of the panel, and a live discussion would be a fantastic idea to end this important panel.
In Africa, because we are in a way learning and unlearning. Is everybody talks about decolonizing the African Museum, but I think it is even deeper than that. I think the fora like this and spaces where we can discuss about what we can do as an African museum, because there are things that are specific to us, I think, and perhaps we need to share a little bit more. I think perhaps many times we tend to go and look at what other museums in other parts of the world are doing. But I think the more we share, the more we transmit from one to the other here, I think the better for all of us. That's why I'm very glad to hear what Dr. Purity is saying, what Othman is saying there. These are two streams of the continent, and it's great. I wish we could share more among ourselves. That's my only little comment on this. I'm glad that we have this opportunity, and I hope we can have more.
Thank you so much. I now would like to invite Othman Lazraq to also to have a couple of minutes of comment or any further discussion he would like to share with us.
Thank you. I'm really happy to. I was very happy to visit a few years back in Egypt, the museum of the new museum of the Egyptian civilization, and I was quite impressed by the efforts that the public investment that was putting towards such an incredible and an important institution. We are in the same vein that was Jess saying. We are not a public institution. We are a small-scale, human-scale museum that is trying to develop and trying to create a different voice within the continent. It is not easy. I always compare the Moroccan mentality or mentalities to our architecture. You know the saying, "Tell me where you live, I tell you who you are." In Morocco, the traditional architecture is the riad, which is completely blind on the outside and completely open on the inside. And this is exactly how Moroccans are. So being at this time being opening a private museum with private collection is something very new. It's breaking mentalities of especially opening the doors to my home. So this was a big challenge. The challenge of this is the first challenge, to be honest, and the challenge of being of creating a network of African advocates is also something that we should definitely dig and lead, especially as we are the next generation of movers in the continent, and this is our role and our legacy. So I join all what you guys are saying about creating a solid foundation for the arts and for the African heritage. And within my little and humble place in Marrakesh, we also want to be heard and use the voice as much as we can. So thank you again for having us, and I'll pass the floor.
Thank you so much, Othman, for being here with us and for sharing this wonderful thoughts, ideas, activities, and innovative projects among your two institutions that you are involved, the alliances and also the museum Maaden. I hope I pronounce it well. I am also would love very much to visit Morocco and to be able to visit the museum myself. It's very lovely always to have you in Egypt, and we're very happy that we can add something to your knowledge about the Egyptian museum activities. Also, Jess Castellote, I have been living in Nigeria also for 4 years, but that was a long time ago, before the museum existed. But I promise I would love to visit again and see all this wonderful initiative, innovative activities, especially in the domain of education, which your museum is very involved with. Due to its connection to the Pan-Atlantic University, something I really appreciate and I like very much as a person who used to work in education system before. Unfortunately, Dr. Ghoneim cannot be with us due to some technical connection problems, and also I had to apologize on behalf of Kola Aina, who had the same problem in Africa traveling. I mean, between travels, he could not join us. He was very much keen into being with us today. I have to briefly introduce him. As Kola Aina is from Nigeria, is very well known to Jess because I think they work together. He's a director of many technical or tech companies and platforms, but his involvement with Yemi Shyllon Museum is in the advisory, as he is in the board of advisory, and he has lots of activities in the technology philanthropy toward the art culture scene in Nigeria as well. I would like to give the word or the floor to Dr. Purity, if you want to add anything before we go. Dr. Purity from...
Yeah, thank you. And I think what I would want to say is that we are currently in a phase where Africa has a lot of opportunities. And in the field of museums, culture, and arts, we don't want to be left behind. And I am happy that this opportunity has also been seen and is recognized by the African Union. And within their agenda, actually, they have that aspect of the arts, culture, and heritage, and museum falls here. The other thing that I know is happening today in Africa is, as I said before, is the majority of our population is the youth. And just being here, we have about 23 countries who are participating in whatever we are discussing today. And the youth have a lot of interest, and they have a lot of creativity and a lot of innovations that they want to bring on the table. But they are also calling upon us to listen to them and to work with them and let them drive some of the agendas that we have. So mine would be really to call on us as partners and stakeholders to work together. You've seen how many museums now are coming up in Africa, and these are world-class museums. These are things that we never expected to happen way back, but now we are here, and we have to work together and discuss and see how we move Africa as a continent. And I'm happy, for example, for this forum where we've been able to discuss and just say what are some of the innovations that we brought on the table. And these are the innovations that the youth are really yearning, and they think they can be able to advance our arts and culture, not only for awareness and management, but also as an economic benefit, because that is also something that we also need to be thinking about. So I look forward to working with like-minded people, and also to further discussions and driving the agenda of museums and innovations the best way we can in Africa. Thank you very much.
So much, Dr. Purity. I mean, it's a wonderful way to end up our panel today, talking about the youth and their role in the technology, or in becoming the new audience to our museums, and the role of the new rising museum in the region and in the continent. And it's according actually to Museum Council report, the restrictive measure led museums to develop their digital activities, mentioned increased or began after the lockdown for at least 15% in the continent, and in particular activities on social network increased or started almost to increase 50% of the total number of respondents. And this of course involved lots of the youth and the young generation. And as I mentioned before, it's also encouraged the elder generation, or the old audience, to learn more about this technology, and to listen to what the youth is saying, and leave them to lead. I thank you all for this wonderful opportunity, and thanks to the administration and the board of RO.ME Museum Exhibition for allowing me to have this wonderful panel with distinguished guests. And I hope we can meet again in other events. And thank you all. Thank you for your time, for your availability, and let's work together in rising the cultural scene in Africa more and more. Thank you.